am a doctor.
So the Christmas break is over, and this week is the busiest week for booking holidays. Have you thought about where you'd like to go this year? Helen Blady. This Friday on the Lunchtime programme, I'll be joined by local travel expert Lisa Hilliard, who'll be answering your questions about holidays and travel. Maybe you want to know more about a certain country, or you're planning a wedding or holiday abroad. If you're unsure about the cost of going on holiday, have questions about travel, or just want some advice about the most popular destinations this year, then get in touch. Helen Blady. That's travel expert Lisa Hilliard, this Friday from 1. BBC Radio Northampton.
Now, there are reports this morning that the Silverstone motor racing circuit could pull out of hosting the British Grand Prix within the next couple of years. The BRDC, which owns the circuit, is reported to be considering the move because of, and I quote, the potentially ruinous costs, unquote, of running the event. Christian Sylt, Formula One journalist and friend of the programme, I'm delighted to say, joins us now. Christian, good morning to you.
Morning.
Thanks for coming on this early.
No problem.
What do we know so far about all this, Christian?
Well, I mean, the way that that things look is that the British Racing Drivers Club, they're the group that owns Silverstone, where the British Grand Prix is held and takes place. They're currently deciding, or at least they will be in the run-up to this year's race in July, whether to exercise a break clause in the contract, which would see them drop the race after 2019. And
they've actually put this in writing, I gather.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what perhaps makes the current situation slightly different to previous threats and posturing about the future of the race. Yeah, the fact that they've notified all of their members, 850 members, including big names like Lewis Hamilton, Jenson Button, Nigel Mansell, Jackie Stewart, 850 of them have all been notified that they're considering whether to exercise the break clause.
It is the most prestigious event on Silverstone's calendar, of course. I mean, how likely, in reality, is it that they would go ahead with this and stop hosting it?
Well, I mean, as we've discussed before, really, I mean, the difficulty is that the BRDC, British Racing Drivers Club, is facing financial difficulty, and it's been heading towards that position for some time now. So, you know, you look at the financial statements of it, and the most recently filed ones show that it had the grand total of £9,000 in the bank at the end of 2015. So, I mean, it's really, really, really running on very, very thin margins. I mean, so you would say that there is a real possibility of it. Jackie Stewart agrees that there's a real possibility that they will drop the race. That said, in the same statement from the BRDC chairman, John Grant, he does also say that the financial situation is looking up. So in other words, there's a possibility that they're over the worst of it. So, I mean, realistically speaking, I think it would have to be unlikely. You would have to say that it would be unlikely for the BRDC to drop the race, but I think the key thing here is that there is actually a real possibility of it, even though it's still, even though it's unlikely. This isn't posturing.
They're presumably trying to just renegotiate the cost of it. I say just trying. That's the critical issue, isn't it?
Well, yes. I mean, I think really there's always got to be some aspect of a threat behind it. I mean, the difficulty here that they have is that they're locked into the current terms until 2026. It just so happens that the break clause comes in after 2019 when they can drop the race. So I don't think they're really in a position, and certainly Bernie Ecclestone, who runs Formula One, has said he's not in a position to reduce the fee, which currently stands at around £18 million a year. So, I mean, it doesn't look to me likely that they'll be able to reduce their cost base significantly. But that said, they have been, as we've discussed before, they've been trying to sell the circuit for about the past 5 years to Jaguar, to the owner of Brands Hatch, to the owner of Ginetta Motorcars, and these plans have all bit the dust. So again, that it does almost look like they're reaching the end of the road. They've run out of options.
Is the circuit still for sale?
Yeah, it is, absolutely, and they admit that they're still in talks with I believe they refer to him as an overseas bidder with a substantial overseas bidder. So they're still in talks. I mean, the problem is we don't know who they're in talks with.
You mentioned Bernie Ecclestone, of course. Formula One, the organisation itself has recently been taken over. Bernie's still at the helm, though, isn't he? So his view of it will be critical, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Bernie is still very much in the driving seat, and I think, regardless of as to whether the sale of Formula One ultimately goes through, it's currently going through the motions, really, and the processes involved.
Not complete then yet?
No, not yet. I mean,
Right.
there's a key vote on the 17th of January, so you watch this space in between now and then even then there requires, I think, there is another stage that it has to go through. But it's I mean, who knows whether or not that will eventually clear. But the bottom line really is that there's no suggestion that Bernie is going to be moving from his driving seat. So yeah, he's still in control, and he says he's not budging on the fees of Silverstone, which you can sort of accept because, as I said, they're locked into a contract till 2026.
Indeed. The Formula One without Bernie is almost unthinkable, isn't it? I guess one day it'll have to happen. What about the British Grand Prix itself? If the worst came to it and Silverstone didn't stage it, would we still have a British Grand Prix?
No, I mean, this is you could say is the $40 million question or £20 million question, which is about their fee. I mean, no, I think the reality is, I mean, it's interesting because Bernie has said yesterday that he believes there are several other venues in the UK that could take the race over from Silverstone, and far be it from me to question him, because there's no doubt that he is the maestro and the expert in that respect. There's no question, but who knows what these circuits are? I mean, there are the circuits need to be what they call Grade 1 homologation, which is the top level of specification for circuits. And as far as I know, Silverstone is the only one that fits the bill in the UK. And even so, you'd be looking at Brands Hatch, which would require significant development work. Donington in the East Midlands requires significant development work, and they failed at that in the past. There's a circuit in Wales that's not even been begun construction yet. There's just nothing you can see. I mean, obviously you had all the talks about London, races in London, but I mean, the logistics of that are just prohibitive. So I don't know. Bernie may well have things lined, up his sleeve, and if he does, that could surprise everybody, because, there's no question that nobody knows more about Formula One than him.
Christian, thank you very much indeed for coming on the programme this morning. Always good to talk to you.
No problem. My pleasure.
Formula One journalist with us, telling us about the state of play regarding Silverstone still holding and hosting the British Grand Prix beyond 2019. At the moment, they're saying they can't afford it. Your thoughts and comments welcome on that. Remind you later how you can get in touch. In the meantime, reminding you about the star we're trying to this morning. It's a group.
Christian, thanks so much for your time this morning. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Hopefully that's useful. Take care.
No, that was really useful. Thank you.
Just drop me a line in future as things come up, and we'll speak soon.
No, likewise. If you hear anything, then
I'll keep you posted.
So it's good to get you on.
No problem. Thanks again. Speak soon. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.